So I'll be doing a tier list for all the Titans. Most of them aren't too bad. You know, like I said at the beginning of the stream, I think most of these are going to be an S and A. I think there's going to be a few Bs and like 1 or 2 Cs. That's my guess. So we'll see once we're all done. But we're just going to go in alphabetic order of the classes. So first up, we have the Primus from Death Knight. It's at least an A. I don't know. Is it quite S tier? I feel like 90% of the time you're playing the Primus, you're using the Blood Rune ability, which is good. For me, it's definitely S. Yeah, the Primus always feels so good to play. Primus can discover Headless, my beloved. Oh yeah, I forgot the Discover effect. Sometimes the Discovers are so strong. Like, there's been times I've discovered Helya in like a control matchup, or you discover the I forgot the name of it, like the weapon that freezes with lifesteal, or Reska. Like, there's so many good Discovers. I think it does go up to S tier, Tomka. And the fact that you get to Discover, I think, pushes it over. Because those Discovers I've had, like, be game-changing in some matches. Obviously, Blood Rune is the best ability. Frost and Unholy are okay. Unholy is very good in some matchups. If it's like an aggro matchup, it can be very good. But yeah, the Discover effect is also very, very strong. That's true too, Zek. Like, which Death Knight deck are you running that doesn't play the Primus? That's a good way to think of it. Like, this goes in every single Death Knight deck. And like I said, there's very rarely a situation where I'm not happy to play this. If they have something big on the board, or you need some health, play the Blood Rune. You could play Frost, push some damage maybe, play Unholy to get some taunts up. Yeah, I think I'm happy with this. Very, very versatile card. Very, very strong. And then we have, I'll be honest, I've played this card so few times, I don't even remember the name of it. But we have the Death Knight Titan. What's it called again? Argus. Okay. So Argus, for anyone unfamiliar, because you don't see this card very often, it is a 7-mana 5/9 Titan, and it says minions to the left of this have Rush, and ones to the right of it have Lifesteal, which I think is a super cool and super unique effect. And then the abilities are to discover a Death Rattle minion. It costs 3 less. Reduce the cost of all minions in your hand by 2. And then also summon 4 2/2 elementals with Taunt, which, just to be clear, when you use this ability, it summons 2 on each side. So 2 of them will have Rush and 2 will have Lifesteal. Bill says he's a C. Yeah, I'm leaning towards that as well. One complaint I have with this card is it doesn't really feel like cohesive. I feel like either, like, the Primus is very, very versatile, or you have some of these other Titans that are they're either very versatile or they're very much for like a specific type of deck. And I feel like Argus's abilities are all over the place. You know, this synergizes with the passive effect, but then you have an effect to reduce a minion. Discovering a Death Rattle is so random, I feel like. Like, I don't know, I just feel like these abilities are just very random. The effect is super cool, though. I think I've seen Argus more times from Excavate Mage than actual Demon Hunter decks. I was going to say it's probably the worst of the bunch. I will say I don't think it's the worst of the bunch. But yeah, I think C is pretty comfortable. It just doesn't feel like it's centered. It has a really cool effect. The passive effect is really, really unique and cool, but the abilities just kind of suck. And it doesn't feel like it synergizes or fits into like any Demon Hunter deck, really. Next up, we have Eonar. Is the Druid Titan, and it's 10 mana 5/7. After it uses an ability, I'm sure you've seen this lots and lots of times because Druid loves to cheat it out. After you use an ability, you get a 5/5 with Taunt, and the abilities are to draw cards until your hand is full, restore your hero to full health, and refresh your mana crystals. Everyone's saying S, hate this. Yeah, I think this is an S tier, and part of the reason this is an S tier is because Druid has so many ways to like cheat this out. Right? Druid's never playing this for 10 mana, or it's never playing it on turn 10. Typically, they're playing this and, you know, worst case scenario, right? You play Eonar, you refresh your mana crystals, and so you essentially got a 5/7 and a 5/5 taunt for free. Worst case scenario. Or you can restore your health, your hero to full life if needed. You can refill your hand, and like, because all these options are good. All 3 of these options, they're all kind of different situations, but they're all good. And then, yeah, gain the 5/5 taunts. Void, I don't think Eonar cannot be S. Yeah, yeah, Eonar is definitely, like, looking at the list, outside of Yogg, because Yogg is neutral, Eonar might be the best Titan. Like, the only ones that come close... Actually, I don't want to spoil future... I don't want to spoil future options, but yeah, Eonar might be the best Titan. Ignoring Yogg. I think Yogg is probably the best one, but it's neutral, so it can go in any deck. But yeah, Eonar and S. Druid cheats it out, copies it. You know, not a fun card. And you know, there's decks lately that are even running like Dorian to get 1 mana copies of Eonar. Not fun. Next up, we have Aggramar. It is the Hunter Titan, 6 mana, 3/7. The battle cry is you equip a 3/3 weapon, and then the abilities are to give the weapon after your hero attacks, draw a card. Give the weapon, basically all the abilities buff the weapon in some way, right? So basically, one ability gives it card draw, one ability makes it summon a 3/3 with taunt, and one ability gives it more attack and makes you immune while attacking. It's a cool effect. You know, I think it's cool to give you the weapon, and then you just keep kind of enhancing the weapon as it goes. Am I crazy to say B? I don't think it's a bad card. I don't think it's amazing, though. Tomka agrees with B. Like, it's a cool card, and it is a good card. Void, not very interesting, but solid, probably an A. Eonar is mostly 1 mana due to Dorian and Wild, so yeah, S. I think, so, was it Void mentioned A? I think the one thing that drops this down to a B for me is if the weapon gets destroyed, this card's useless. You know, there's been many times I've played against a hunter where they play this card and they do an ability and they swing, and then my next turn, I just destroy the weapon, and this card's essentially useless. This card is a 3/7, do nothing for the next 2 turns. Like, are any of the other Titans that reliant on the board? Not really, right? So this Titan is unique in that regard, that if you have some kind of weapon tech, it's just useless. So I think that drops it down to a B. He looks like the Marvel character with the weird helmet. Oh, is it Galactus? How do you spell it? Yeah, you're right, man. This is like Wish.com Galactus over here. And then next up, we have Mage. Norgannon, 6 mana, 3/8. After this uses an ability, double the power of the other abilities. So they are to deal 5 damage. So this would obviously go 10 damage, then 20 damage. This is enemy cards cost 1 more next turn. So it'd be 2 more, then 4 more. And then cast 1 random mage secret. So it'd be 2 secrets and 4 secrets. And I will say, this is at least C. I think this is the worst Titan. I think this is the worst Titan. I think it's worse than Argus. Because this card hinges on it surviving for multiple turns. Like, the first stage of these are all terrible. 5 damage, enemy cards cost 1 more. That's negligible. That doesn't do anything. And 1 random secret. Like, these are so bad. If they get doubled once, they're decent. If they get doubled twice, they're good. But how often do you see a Titan live 3 turns? You know, the vast majority of the time, the Titan's getting killed after 1 ability. Maybe sometimes it'll live for 2 triggers, but I feel like I can count on 1 hand how many times I've had a Titan live and use all 3 abilities. I really do almost feel like this needed, I don't know. If this had elusive, would it be too strong? Norgannon is a funny guy. He may realistically be C or B, but he's S in my heart. Hey, that's what matters, man. 6 mana, cry in the corner. Wait, what if this was like 5 mana? I just feel like it's just too easy to remove. And it needs to stick on the board multiple times to be decent. I feel like either this should have had 10 mana, or maybe elusive, or 5, or maybe 5 mana. I say 10 mana, I meant 10 health if I did. I think this is C. This is possibly D, but I'm feeling generous. I think this is the worst Titan, though. I think it's worse than Argus. The amount of games I've won by dropping him on curve, increasing the cost, and then double reverbing for 40 is genuinely insane. I have never even heard or seen of that combo in my entire life. It's funny, you say that, and then 2 messages down, Leo says he's never seen it played. At least you should choose the secret to cast. Oh, that would help. for sure. If it said discover one mage secret to cast, that would help it. It still wouldn't be great, but that would help it. That's in the right direction for sure. Next up, we have Amitus. It is a Paladin Titan, 7 mana, 1/8, and it has Taunt. Your minions can't take more than 2 damage at a time. And then the abilities are draw 2 minions, set their attack and draw 2 minions, set their attack, health, and cost to 2. Give your other minions +2/+2, and set the attack and health of all enemy minions to 2. So I will say this passive super strong, because it also affects Amitus. So Amitus can only take 2 damage at a time. All these abilities are very good in different ways, right? This helps you draw, this buffs your board, this helps remove enemy threats. Very versatile. I'm kind of leaning towards A. It's very strong. Is it S tier strong though? That's the question. Amitus is definitely an A. Tomka says A. Yeah, at the very least it's an A. It is very strong. Like this passive, for some decks, it is so hard to get rid of this card. Like you pretty much need, like unconditional removal, right? Like not damage-based removal to get rid of this. And the effects are all very good. Very versatile. It's kind of similar to the Primus in that the abilities are all very good for different situations. But I don't think it's like as game-winning as Eonar and the Primus. Like, I think the Primus and the Eonar are, kind of in a vacuum. They are game-warping or potentially game-winning cards by themselves, while Amitus kind of needs other cards to support it, right? You're not dropping Amitus on an empty board and kind of like running away with the game, typically, right? But Primus or Eonar can be dropped on an empty board and just carry by themselves. So I think by that logic, it's an A. I think that hard removal is too prevalent for S. That's true too. Next up, we have Aman'Thul. This is the Priest Titan, 7 mana, 3/10. And after this uses an ability, discover any legendary minion. And then the abilities are to summon a copy of a non-Titan minion with +2/+2. Keep in mind, this can be used on friendly or enemy minions. Remove 2 enemy minions from the game. So this does not trigger death rattles. Keep that in mind. And the last one is to summon a random 6-cost minion with lifesteal and taunt. This one again is at least an A. It's A or S. I actually think by my logic with Amitus, I think it is S tier. Because my logic with these S tiers was that these can be dropped on an empty board and warp the game around them. But Amitus needs other minions to kind of support it to get its full effect. But Aman'Thul is a huge, like, these cards you need to get rid of, like, the turn they're played, right? And they can just warp the game. So yeah, I think with that in mind, and as you mentioned, Air, with the Discover, I think it brings Aman'Thul up to S tier. It's kind of just a better Primus. Yeah. I will say, this ability here, this is probably 99% of the time the last ability you're using. I think this is the weakest ability of the 3, but it makes up with it. Like, this is the vast majority of the time the first one you're using. This ability is so strong. And this one can be okay. Playing this on like Ziliax or Yogg, or actually no, it can't be used on Yogg. Playing this on Ziliax or other certain targets is very good. And then there's just the Discover effect, right? Basically, my logic so far, to kind of recap, S tier are, just in a vacuum, they can like run away with the game. They can warp the game. They can win you the game. They don't really need other support, right? A tier, very strong card, but they need a little bit of support to fully get their effect. B tier, they're fine, but they got some downsides. And I think C tier is just, they're kind of niche. They're not good / niche. That's my logic so far. Aman'Thul has played every single priest deck. Yeah, I guess like the Primus, right? Actually, all 3 of these, right? Are you ever making a Death Knight Druid or priest deck without these? Tomka, Hero Power Druid. Yeah, you're right. Shadow Priest. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Next up. Oh, see, I almost forgot the Rogue Titan for this tier list. You want to know why? So I went to the card gallery and I filtered Titan and I was like, okay, I saved all the Titans, right? But the Rogue one doesn't show up because it has this stupid ass name. Which, for sure, the flavor is cool, but yeah, I don't know why when you filter Titan it doesn't show up. There should be some kind of back-end coding, right, where it filters it, but regardless. The Rogue Titan, it is Voltron, 6 mana, 3/5, and it says this minion's abilities repeat on another random friendly minion. So basically, when you use one of its abilities, it'll do it on itself and then another minion as well. And they are gain +2/+1 and deal 4 damage to a random enemy. Gain +1/+2 and draw a card. And gain 3 health and elusive. I think with the logic I used for the Hunter minion, I feel like it goes in B. Because it's good, but it's conditional, right? Like, you need a minion on the board even more so than Amitus. I don't think it's as bad as Argus and Norgannon. Void, Voltron is weird because I fully believe it's a great card that just doesn't have the deck it fits into. Yeah, so when the expansion first launched and Mech Rogue was a thing, this card was good. But ever since then, it hasn't really seen play. And it's like you said, it's just there's not really like a rogue deck that wants to play it, right? Like this wants to be played in a deck with lots of minions, so you can guarantee you're getting the doubling effect off. Tomka, I've never seen it play D. I think if it wasn't for Mech Rogue, when this card first came out, it would be a C. But it did have its time in the sun. Like, neither of these cards, neither Argus or Norgannon have ever been meta. But Voltron was actually meta at one point. So I'll give him that. Void, I think B is right. Air, I think it's B. I only see it in Mech Rogue. Yeah, like, it's a cool card. It's a cool idea. But like I said, you need something on the board to really fully maximize it. Yeah, it's not a terrible card. Just like with this one, right? The Hunter one's not bad. It's just not great. So next up, we have the Shaman Titan. Golganneth. It is a 6 mana 5/7. Your first spell each turn costs 3 less, and then the abilities are to deal 3 damage to all enemies and restore 6 health to all friendlies, deal 20 to another minion, and draw 3 overload cards. And before I look at chat and get influenced at all, I think it's an A. Very, very good card. I don't think it's S tier. I feel like it's similar to Amitus, in that it's a very good card, but it's not going to win you the game by itself. Like, these 3 cards can just win you the game in a vacuum. These 2 cards are very, very good, but they're not going to close out the game by themselves. They need like a little bit of support. A to S, playing this is the concede moment against aggro. Yeah, I have to say, playing this card into aggro and doing the damage heal feels so good. I think A, it's in most Shaman decks. A. All right, well, I'm glad we're on like the same page for pretty much all of these. Roaring Oceans is by far the best option. The fact that this deals 3 to the enemy hero and heals your hero 6 is just icing on the cake. Lord of Skies, probably the least used option, but it can be useful. You know, there's been times I've nuked like a 2 health minion and it feels so bad. But there has been times I've nuked some beefy minions with this too. And then the 3 overload is decent, depending on the deck, right? Depending on the deck and is what's left in your deck, it's not a bad option. And the discount is very nice too. 20 is hella fun. Yeah, the 20 is so overkill. It reminds me of like Flame Lance, how they updated Flame Lance to deal like 25 damage or whatever. Just so overkill. Shaman is at least an A, pretty versatile. Yeah, I think it's an easy A. Like I said, it's not going to win you the game, but it's going to get you there. And then next up, we have Sargeras, the Warlock Titan, 9 mana 6/12, and it has Battlecry, open a portal that summons 2 3/2 imps each turn. And then the abilities are to suck everything into the portal. So it's kind of like Twisting Nether, but death rattles don't trigger and things like that. The other option is to summon 2 6/6s, and then the other option is future demons have +2 health and taunt, which this does apply to this as well. So if you give the 2 health and the taunt, and then you do the 6/6s, it'll actually be 6/8s with taunt. And I think this is S tier. The one thing that's really holding this card back and is so annoying is Reno. The fact that Reno wipes out the Sargeras portal is awful. I hate that they have like both. I hate that they came out with both cards and like at the same time. Because Sargeras is a win condition in itself. Like I talked about with like the S tiers, these are all kind of, can win games by themselves, right? And Sargeras is like the epitome of that. Sargeras is a 1-card win condition if the game goes on long enough. But the fact that Reno can just wipe out the portal feels so bad. But regardless, I think it's still S tier. Either giving the imps taunt and kind of protecting you is very, very strong, sucking everything in. Actually, this reminds me, last week I released a video on YouTube. It was the top 5 board clears of all time. And I actually had Sargeras as number 3. Because this is essentially, you know, like a better Twisting Nether on a body. This is 9 mana for a Twisting Nether that doesn't trigger death rattles. You get a 6/12 body in the board, and you get a portal that spawns imps. So sometimes I will play Sargeras and, you know, do this ability. Sometimes you'll do it for the taunts. Those are the main 2 that you use. Void. Sargeras, I feel like, is S in Titans and got demoted to A when Reno happened and Warlock started to favor faster decks. 100%. Sargeras has fallen out of favor. There's no doubt about it, but I think it's still S tier. I'm hoping it has some time in the sun once more before it rotates, though. Tomka, Sargeras is S in my heart. All my homies hate Reno, but it's like a B right now. Yeah, if I had to go based on just like the current meta, it probably is a B. Maybe I'm biased. You know, I do like Warlock a lot, but yeah, if it wasn't for Reno, this is just like a 1-card win condition. And like I said, I hate Blizzard for introducing Sargeras and Reno like back to back. Such a dumb idea. Next up, we have Khaz'goroth, the Warrior Titan, is a 6 mana 4/5. After this uses an ability, gain immune this turn and attack a random enemy minion. And the abilities are to gain +2/+2 and draw a weapon, gain 5 attack and give your hero +5 attack, or gain 5 health, give your hero +5 armor. I think this is a C. Before we discuss it further, I think it's a C, which is, it's too bad because Warrior is my favorite class by far. So when they were showing off the Titans, I was so excited to see what the Warrior one was. And I will be honest, day one, I crafted this card because I was very hopeful. I was very hopeful that would be good. It's just not. The fact that it attacks a random enemy minion, it feels so bad. You know, there's been times I've played this and you want it to hit a specific thing and it doesn't, and it could just lose you the game. So the fact that it's a random enemy minion really sucks. These effects aren't that great. I don't think it's the worst one by any means. I still think Norgannon's worse, but I think he's probably second worst. If I had to order these in order of like best to worst, I feel like C tier would be ordered like that. Yeah, I was so disappointed with this card. I really wanted it to be good. And it was a waste of dust, Tomka. As you said, this is just 1600 dust, essentially. It's too bad. I wonder if, you know, if there was some way they could have made this where you get to choose what minion it attacked. Because that wouldn't even be overpowered, I don't think. Like, yeah, you would basically get to choose and remove one threat. But you'd probably have to pick the +5 attack option. And in that case, when it goes back to the opponent's turn, it's just a 9/5, which 5 health is easy to remove. If this had the ability to choose what it attacked, I think it would make it much, much better. But there's been so many times I've been in a game where they have like one big minion and one shitty minion, and it always attacks the shitty minion, man. It never attacks what you want it to attack. Void, this feels like the card. I just don't really care. Air C, I think I've seen him like 2 times. Yeah, probably one of the 2 times was me playing it. Because like I said, I crafted this card day one, hoping it would be good, and it's not good. And it was so hard for me to take this card out of my deck because like I said, I wanted it to be good. I was really trying to give it a chance, and it's just bad. Khaz'goroth's worst sin is that it's so boring. Yeah, that doesn't help too, right? It's just, it's not an exciting card. Like some of these, look at these. Like, oops, they have like such flashy, big, cool effects. And like Norgannon and Khaz'goroth are just kind of like a wet fart. On the other hand, Odin was the other legendary from that set, was pretty OP. Yeah, that's true. That balanced out in that regard. They got a really, really good legendary than a bad Titan. But anyways, last but not least, we have Yogg-Saron. So Yogg came out in the mini set, and I actually want to show you guys before we talk about it. For anyone who maybe just started playing in the last couple sets, this is not the way Yogg worked when it first released. You know, it was nerfed and actually reworked at one point. So let me see if I have the old versions here. Yep. So this is the way Yogg looked when it first released. It was a 15 mana, and it said cost 1 less for every spell you've cast this game. It had the same abilities, but instead it cost 15 and it had a different text here. And basically, rogues and druids were playing this on turn 4 or 5. That's what was happening. So you think Yogg is strong now at 9 mana? Imagine people playing on turn 4. So yeah, this is the way Yogg released, and it was promptly nerfed to what it currently is. So basically they moved it to from 15 to 9 mana, and they replaced the discount effect with the 2 random spell effect. And it's still very, very good. Like, it's S tier, no doubt about it. I think it's the strongest Titan. I forgot it started at 15 and not 20. Yeah, I almost wish they maybe would have bumped it up to, like, instead of reworking the card, I almost wish they would have just maybe bumped up to 20. Would that have been too, like, maybe at 20, it would still be very strong in certain decks, but then shit in other decks. Maybe that's the problem. Yogg is the Warrior Cope Titan. Yeah, like, obviously, Yogg is S tier. Part of it is because it's neutral and can fit into every deck, and it's almost played in every deck. You know, more often than not, people are playing Yogg right now. Yogg has actually snuck its way into a lot of decks you wouldn't expect, and one of the reasons is Ziliax. You know, people are playing the keyword soup Ziliax, and one of the ways to deal with it is just stealing it with Yogg. So a lot of lists have just started running Yogg just to counter Ziliax. Oh, the ability to mess you over, and the fact that it's only played in slow decks means it can't be S. Yeah, I won't lie. There's definitely been times the effect has screwed me over, and although it is really funny when it screws over the opponent as well. But yeah, that's my tier list. Basically, S's are, you know, game warping cards by themselves, cards that can win the game by themselves or just run away with the game. A's are very, very strong cards, but they need a bit of support. You know, they're not just going to win you the game by themselves. B's are fine cards, but they're a little niche. You know, with the Hunter one, the weapon can be destroyed and the card just kind of useless. With Voltron, it requires at least another minion on the board to really fully utilize its effect. And then the C's just aren't great. Argus is kind of all over the place design-wise and just doesn't synergize with Demon Hunter very well. Norgannon, you know, needs to survive multiple turns to really get its full effect, and it never survives multiple turns. And Khaz'goroth is just boring. It sucks. What do you guys think? Anything any like major things you've changed or disagree with? But yeah, the Titans are still around till the end of this year. These 5 are, I assume, are still going to see play until they're rotated. But yeah, I really like the Titan mechanic. I don't think it'll ever come back, you know, especially Hearthstone never wants to reuse keywords, which I think is a big bummer. Yeah, Titans and Colossal were 2 keywords I loved, and if they ever came back in some capacity, I'd really, really like it.